Let me first talk about, obviously we can talk about Martin. Martin stuff's out there. But I didn't get a chance to really comment on Anthony Solomon. I wanted to make sure Georgetown was okay with it. But, I think it's a great move for him. I mean, think about it now. We've been together 11 years, 11 great years. We've had an unbelievable run together. A new challenge for him. He's an East Coast guy, getting back east. High school for his son. He's got some options in the Washington area. And he's going with a great guy in JT3, who's a good friend of mine and is on the NABC board with me, and a great school and a great program. With Martin, couldn't be more thrilled. So proud. He's like a son to me, and for him to go back to Delaware, I always thought he was a great fit. I thought he was the best candidate, but he was the best candidate for so long, sometimes you lose momentum. But he did a great job through the interview process, and I'm thrilled for him. I'm excited about what I can do with my staff. This staff that we had, we maxed it out together. It was time for change on both sides of the coin. And it was an unbelievable ride, but I think reinvention is great for me. I will certainly start with a pool of my former players who are very qualified, but I'm not locked into that either. And I'm not going to rush. Obviously our guys come back June 13th. We'd love to have at least one of those spots filled by then. If the other wasn't filled, we'll figure it out. But for me, I kind of relate it to how energized I was when we went to the ACC from the Big East. It was like taking a new coaching job. It was energizing, and I'm really excited that I can do some things with my staff, to again keep me energized. Questions we can talk. We can talk about those guys. If you want to talk about our pro guys that are out there, anything you want to talk about. I figured we should have a State of the Union with everything that's happened in the last couple days.
Safe to say that if you don't go to 2 Elite Eights, maybe you're not talking about staff changes in May. This is what occurs when you have the success that you've had.
No, that's fair, Tom. No question. I think Martin has always been a marketable candidate. I think Anthony has always tried to reinvent as a head coach. He's had a hard time doing that. Fair. I don't think that's fair because the Bonaventure situation was a total mess. But at the end of the day, your record's your record. But there's no question. I would think from Georgetown's point of view, they'd like to get some info on how we've done it out here. And so in that sense, I think it's a smart move by John Thompson III. For Martin, even though he was a candidate, the last 2 years made him a little bit more of a candidate. And again, I think the timing's great for him there, and now they are way down. Like I took the job, it was in much better shape in 1995. He's got a lot of work to do, but they'll be very patient with him.
You haven't had to fill a staff position for a while, and you've never had to fill 2. How do you go about doing something where there's really no reference point for you as far as 2? Like you said, if you only do 1 at a time.
Methodically. Like I've got a great off-season pace going, and I'm not going to rev that up. I will do it. I've got with Swanee and Rod still here. Those guys, we can hold the fort until our reinforcements come. But just I don't want to rush. Just want to make sure we do it right and it's the right fit. And so we'll take our we'll methodically go through it. We may have a candidate on campus next week. That would be a goal.
Mike, how important is it for you to get a guy with the experience that you're losing with Slow going out the door?
I'm not so sure that's a factor. Recruiting experience can be overrated. If with some of my guys in my pool, my former guys, they are young, hungry, classy, get it. Sometimes you just have to be thrown into the recruiting. Mike Krzyzewski hired me when I was a high school coach. I never recruited a day of my life. But it's all about personality and communication and building relationships. And the guys of my former guys that I'm thinking about all are magnificent in that department, and some of them have already done it at other schools.
When you talk about trying to get this time for change a little bit, and you maxed out the previous staff, Are you looking for guys who are similar to Martin and Slow?
Not necessarily. No, I mean, no. I don't think I'm trying to get identicals there. I think I'm trying to get what energizes me, and again, I've thought about how do you make moves over the last 3 years, because I've had guys involved with head jobs. All three of my guys were involved with head jobs. So you're thinking about plan B and contingency all the time. So I didn't go into this blindly. I've thought about a lot of guys. I'm not looking for a certain personality. This is a different place. You got to really understand, our mission here and how you're working and our culture, which I love and believe in, and just love it. But not everybody can work here. And certainly the two guys we lost got it to a T. They really did. Martin did. He was a grad. Slow did. He was a Virginia grad. He was a Virginia guy. So, having a feel for this place is really a key. You got to be careful. You got to be smart.
So would that be why, one of the reasons why you're looking at former guys who
Definitely.
know the culture?
Yeah, definitely. And now I'm at a point, I always felt I was getting to a point. My AD, Jack at Swerbrick and I have talked about this. The last couple of years, I was getting to a point where now I have guys who played for me in my program out there ready to come back. And that, we talked about how exciting that was, but yet we didn't have any movement until this week. So I've been kind of waiting to explore former guys, and because there's a few of them out there that are really gifted.
How do you balance that? The dynamic of having these guys that are so valuable to your program, but yet you also want them to succeed, and you were, in their shoes too before. How do you kind of balance that whole dynamic?
Talking about the guys who left?
Yeah, the guy just assistant coaches leaving and going on to bigger,
Well, you want your guys to leave. Every guy that's left here, has left on a positive situation and something he wanted to do. I've had two leave for assistant jobs. Lewis Preston went to Florida. They won the national championship that next year. Slow went to Georgetown. The rest of my guys left for head jobs. So, I've not had to fire a guy. I hope, because we've made good decisions on the front end of who's going to be a good fit here. And I don't think any of our staff who's left here, we've always left on a good note. Like Slow and I hugged each other and we laughed. We're going to go to dinner in a week with his wife. I said, I tell you what, we had a hell of a run together. And we both kind of smiled and said it was a great run. But it's time. It's time. It gets stale, and we maxed it out. Amen that we maxed it out.
Like we said, your guys, this
Former players.
But it's Notre Dame or Delaware?
Former players, Notre Dame, ND guys. Yeah, just ND guys.
Are there technical skills that you've always wanted to bring to the staff and now you have an opportunity to look for them?
Well, I think you need somebody, Anthony did a really good job working with our big guys this last year. So somebody that can really work with frontline guys, because our frontline development is very important to our season with what we've lost. So that's really on my mind as I look through the pool of not only my former players, Notre Dame players, but who else has called and checked in.
Mike, when you talk about looking at your former players, are these guys that even when they played for you, they have certain traits where you identified, hey,
Oh, yeah.
down the road, what were those?
Yeah, I think the ones you're thinking about, they were all captains. They all led. As you've seen how we've run the program, I really need my leaders to deliver the message and how we communicate. And, so those guys have all been in leadership positions where I've already kind of my captains are almost like assistant coaches. You've seen that over the years. So all those guys have had responsibility. I told Beecham, Colson, and Vastoria, I called all our guys, let them know what's going on. I said, first of all, beat's going on. We're going to keep rolling here. They're like, yes, we are, coach. And I said, really, you three guys are my assistants because you're my leaders next year. We'll deal with this other stuff back here. But it's you three and me running this thing. And that's been a great virtue. And again, I think it'll be very important. But the guys that I'm looking at, they all were in that seat.
How did the guys take it? Because, Slow's been here a long time.
Yeah, our guys are pretty good. I mean, he checked in with all of them. Certainly our recruits, you know, guys came here to play for me. And you know, and so they just need to hear my plan, and they heard my enthusiasm on how we can reinvent our staff, and that, see, some of the guys that I'm thinking about, my current guys worship.
Right.
They see pictures of them in the locker room. They've heard the stories of them. So there's great street cred there in that pool.
From a recruiting aspect, how much more difficult does this make this? I mean, does this, you kind of have to build those relationships?
Yeah, you do, but I don't think it's a big setback. You know, right now, it's me recruiting the rising seniors. It's my relationship with them. I saw them in April. There's 12 of them that I got to really get to know, and I have been since May 1st. It's really me talking to them. We'll work some other guys off onto the new guys, but they need to hear from me now, and they need to hear from me all the way through the summer the most, until that official visit, and then we try and close it out. So it's kind of been, I've been the recruiting coordinator since May 1, and that's kind of the role you rotate into this time of year.
I know the summer timing isn't maybe generally as often as when coaches will leave for other jobs, but does it almost help to have the April period, have had your guys through here, and have
you know,
the next month or two?
You know, as a matter of fact, John Thompson III and I were talking at the board meeting. He had 2 openings in April. He's had 2 to fill, and I think he's now filled them 2. But he had kind of GAs out there trying to do legwork, and he couldn't be everywhere. So that I got through it with Martin and Slow, and we've got our pool of kids we've offered on the board in there. You know, I'm lucky with this timing.
I know you want to look at current guys or former guys from Notre Dame, but what's been the outside interest as far as guys calling and saying, hey, keep me in mind if it gets this way.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in talking with you.
You can imagine how my phone has been going, and there's been a lot of response, and there should be. A lot of people want to be part of this thing and learn here. And I've told all of them my response has been really going to my pool of former guys first, but let's stay in touch.
How big's that pool?
Oh, I don't. Current, my players, 4 or 5. Yeah, about 4 or 5 guys. You know the suspects.
Just making sure.
Yep. You know the suspects.
Talking about energy, how great is it to have VJ coming back next year?
Well, it's great. I mean, you know, he took advantage of the rule. There was he was not delusional about it. He didn't get invited to the combine, so right on back. You know, if it gives him a little more confidence, that's what I was trying to achieve, and I think he'll be really ready to capitalize on what he did in March.
What have you heard about Demetrius?
10 to 20. You know, certainly his numbers. Hey, how about the Irish? We got dudes who can jump. We got 2 of the top 5 vertical jumps. ND basketball, baby. So I'm really proud of that. I mean, his numbers were great, which we knew. He was fabulous with his interviews, the GMs that I've talked to, which you guys have talked to him. You're not surprised. These gems. So I think he's put himself in a great position in that 10 to 20 slot.
And then what have you heard about Zach?
On the fringe of the second round, he's intriguing. He's a ball screen roll guy. He can run. He's an energy guy. He'll probably work out for 20 teams. I don't know how much the combine was really that big a deal for him. You know, I was disappointed he wasn't invited. I thought he should have been. But I think these 20 workouts, something's going to pop there if he's going to get drafted. He's going to definitely be in a summer league, and I think he's got a great shot.
Now that they're expanding the draft with a new rule, or not expanding the draft, but allowing more players to declare and go through their combine process and everything, do you feel like the pool of players at the combine should be maybe enlarged a little bit?
Yeah, I would be in favor of that because Zach was hurt. You know, what it hurt was a senior like Zach not getting invited because we had all these underclassmen who really put their name in knowing there was no fear they could always come back. And I think that bumped some seniors. It definitely affected Zach. They probably should look at expanding that thing a little bit. I think that's something the NABC board that I'm on, we met in Indy last week, that's a suggestion we're going to make to the NBA.
Any chance Notre Dame goes back to Newark next year?
I think there's always a chance of that. We're going to get back there someday. There's no question. Whatever Martin's comfortable with, I'd love to bring the Irish back there. And he's got some rebuilding to do right now, though.
I guess when you're looking at the current team then, I know this is something we've looked at in recruiting specifically about where you guys are going, but filling Zach's shoes, who's kind of in the mix? What have you
Yeah.
seen from the spring workouts?
Well, our spring workouts, I think, Torres, Elijah Burns, Bonzi's going to be Bonzi, but Torres, Elijah Burns, Martin Gebbin, Johnny Mooney, we got to get something there. Is it 3 of them? Is it 2 of them? It's got to at least be 2 of them. I think Martin Gebbin has a great opportunity. I think you heard me say at the end of the year or maybe postseason, the junior year light bulb going on. Zach August, VJ Beecham. Why can't it happen for Martin Gebbin? He's been in our program for 2 years, and I have a feeling he will really step forward just from watching him in the spring, and we'll get a summer again together here soon.
BJ's shown like flashes of being that guy.
Yeah.
What kind of steps, you even showed it towards the end of the year, what does he have to do to kind of...
You know what we need to do for him in Vastoria? We need to screen for them more. That's not really was our style of play. Zach was a ball screen roll guy, and them spotting up, shot faking. When Martin Gebbin was in with our starters last practice, I told him, the only thing I want you to do offensively is get Beecham and Vastoria open. He and Elijah Burns know how to set good illegal screens, borderline illegal screens. And I think that's where, as I think about our offense moving forward, those guys need a little help getting their shot. They're not just going to take you off the dribble. And so I think we have to really be conscious of that, and I think Martin is really good at that. And then he's very good offensive rebounder. It's not like we have to throw it into him 20 times and make a post move, but he also can make a 15-footer. And you know what? Before he leaves, he'll make some threes because he can shoot the ball.
When you're looking at the backcourt, replacing Demetrius, how much of that is Farrell and how much might be Gibbs? And then how much did Farrell's tournament kind of help in that role?
Matty Farrell, set himself up, as a key guy with how he played in March. He was probably wondering about his future. And matter of fact, we talked about that. But obviously, for him, this is how crazy sports are. He's not playing, but we kind of get him back in there. He plays great in March, and then Jackson goes pro. Sitting in a pretty good spot right now. TJ Gibbs will play a lot for us. He'll play and spell Matty, but he'll also play with him. And TJ's very ready to help us right away. He's a key guy to get ready this summer of our 3 young guys, because we're going to need that skill set with what we lost.
Could you describe Gibbs's game? It looks like it's pretty well-rounded and complete.
Yeah, it's Torrey Jackson-like, but shoots it better. He can shoot the ball, obviously. He can shoot the ball, he can play off the ball. He's got, like Torrey, got very good strength. Got an edge about him. When you're having to play one-on-one against those 2 older brothers your whole life, and you're playing on I-95, you're playing for your life. There's a toughness about him. There's a maturity about him, like Rex and Matt Ryan, that's not typical of an 18-year-old. So he's going to be very ready to do it. Well, guys, it was great talking hoops. Let's get back to the quarterback situation and leave me alone for a while, all right? Okay, we got another one. I'm kidding. Go ahead, I'm kidding.
Your guys can jump. How come you can't jump? Because the last time you tried to jump, you tore your calf muscle.
I'm just about all the way back. I'm all the way back.
You got to work with Tony.
I got Tony stretching me out, and I'm thinking whoever I hire, the one that sits next to me needs to turn to me and go, just sit down more tonight, Coach. You don't need to be you're not the 41-year-old guy that came here. So I'm swimming and biking again, so I'm good. I'm good. Have a great summer, guys. I'm sure we'll be talking. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.